What is up, everybody? Gary here, back again, daily vlogging every day in the month of November 2023. If it's your first time, welcome aboard. There's a little playlist over here. I hope that it links to the playlist. If it doesn't, I'll just link to the very first video in the series where you can catch up with all these vlogs. And if you're returning, you're obviously the best, and I love you. So thank you so much for being here. Either way, thank you very much. I am trying my best to, I feel like some of these videos, like every day, there's like a different topic. It's kind of like, whatever's on my mind, whatever I'm kind of like feeling, and then, I want to share. But then there's also like, there are times where I'll talk about one thing and then maybe a video to go after it can be somewhat related. So that is what we're going to do here today. And in the previous video, I talked about a clothing company that I started and marketed on primarily Instagram, and kind of the short-lived run of that for its first, kind of era, and potentially teasing more to come. Wink, wink. But I kind of like subtly mentioned in the video about kind of like, my time on Instagram, kind of documenting that fitness journey. And I feel like, what better time than now to make a video about, some of my experiences as it pertains to documenting that journey, the pros, the cons, things like that. And I just want to say that the spoiler alert to this is that I would never do that again. Now, what works for me, this is something you hear so often in multi-genres, is like whatever works for me may not work for you. This is not like, the best advice necessarily. It's just the best advice for me that I'm sharing with you, yada, yada, yada. But basically, I would not do that again. It was definitely, without a doubt, a mistake. I paid dearly for it, and allow me to explain. So, years ago, I had in my mind that I wanted to grow my Instagram. I was very excited about Instagram as a platform, and I decided that I wanted to essentially make that my full-time hangout spot and grow on that platform. And like anything that you do creatively, all the experts are going to tell you, you got to niche down, you got to do this, you got to do that. You start watching a couple of Gary V videos, next thing you know, you're just like throwing everything at the freaking wall to see what sticks, and trying to hustle and grind and all that. And so, yeah, I got caught up into that. And at the time, so 2016 December was when I finally made a decision that I wanted to resume working out. Prior to that, I hadn't done anything fitness related, just even in private, since like 2013, I want to say. So I had like 3 straight years of basically gaining a lot more weight than I had. And 2014, I nearly died, of all things, and that really sucked. And 2015, 2016, I did not a damn thing to work on that. I just kind of was like, well, I'm still here. And so one of the ideas for me was to kind of, maybe if in my mind, I'm like, well, if I document this journey, this will keep me accountable. Because if other people know I'm doing it, if I tell everybody I'm doing it, naturally, they're going to ask, like, hey, man, how's that whole fitness thing going along? And so I remember starting in January, much like a lot of people do, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. Although I would say if you're somebody that wants to make a change in your life and you've determined that now is the time, we're in November right now, do not wait till January. Don't use that as, I don't want to say an excuse, that sounds mean, but like, don't use that as the reason that you don't go. Like, if you're not ready, don't go. And that's something that nobody probably expected me to say, or anybody to say. But if you're not ready, like, don't go, and don't, put yourself in something you don't want to do. But if you're ready, don't wait till January. Don't wait for that, new year, new me. I'm going to post a meme on Instagram and get like 5 likes. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just go now. So, but in my mind, I was like, okay, January starts. I think it was like the 3rd or 4th day of January 2017. Went back to the gym, and it was at first, it was very like simple, right? Like I would post a screenshot of my Apple Fitness thing. I am always Team Apple, Team iPhone, Team Apple Watch. I love this thing, and I love the fitness app that they have, and I like to just kind of take a screenshot of it and make it just like a post. And I think I labeled it like day 1. I think I took a picture if I remember correctly, and so for the first probably 5 or 6 months, that's all it was. That's all it was. And I was actually losing weight at such a pace that I think it was by that summer that I was like going back to amusement parks again and stuff, which was a lot of fun because you're like, hey, amusement parks are cool. And I used to not be able to fit on the rides and all that stuff. So that was really exciting for me to be able to do that. So that was something else that I would add into the documentation of my weight loss journey, as it was labeled on Instagram. And I would say it's around July or August where I got some kind of like, I don't know why I did this. I could have just gone on YouTube and got the information, but I bought like, I don't remember who it was, but somebody had like an ebook, like how to grow on Instagram. So like, I'm like reading this and, I'm watching, a lot of Gary V stuff, Gary Vaynerchuk, if you don't know who that is. And taking bits and pieces from that and bits and pieces from Gary's content, specifically about Instagram or how to just grow on social in general. And basically, I scaled it from like, 50, 60 followers up to about 2,500 in the matter of like a month. And I don't think the strategy still works now because Instagram is vastly different. It's not really the same kind of like photo-based platform that it used to be. You got to post a lot more reels, and I definitely hate that as somebody that does like concert photography or just general photography. It sucks that you cannot do anything without using like the video part of it. You can, but you're just not going to get nearly the reach. So at that time, I was just posting photos of me in the gym, posting Instagram stories of me in the gym. This is around the time where I brought my podcast back. That was actually May, but like I was doing like standalone episodes, kind of just talking things that would happen, things like this, and sharing it kind of like how we're doing here. And then it was around, this would have been September, where I had the idea like, oh, hey, let's do interviews. Like the idea was that I was going to interview complete strangers from Instagram, because like I came from like the wrestling podcast world where it was the complete opposite. Like you wanted to have the big name guests so that you could get like huge numbers and all of that. And that was pretty much like, that was the scene for that. But at that time, like wrestlers that started doing podcasts, I'm like, well, I don't really need to do wrestling podcasts anymore because the wrestlers are doing it. And who better to talk about wrestling well than them? That's how I thought. Would I ever do one of those again? I know we're sidebarring. Would I ever do one of those again? Maybe. I don't want to say never. Or I do want to say never. I might, but probably not. But I had the itch to want to podcast again, so I decided that I was going to do the Gary Cantrell podcast, and I would interview people from Instagram about their weight loss journeys, and that was kind of in a way, like in my mind, it was twofold because everything we do kind of has like a purpose. Some would say ulterior motive, but that kind of sounds more like evil, I guess. But like, I knew two things were going to come of this. Number one, it was going to be whoever's on the podcast, I could probably convert to a fan of the podcast, meaning they would want to listen to it and listen over and over and over again. But then the other part of it was, well, these people, naturally, they're going to share it on their Instagram. So it extends the word of mouth. And so that was actually like an inadvertent growth hack to my Instagram, where I would just bring people on, talk about their journeys. They would become a listener of the podcast, and they would also share it with their own community. And that was really cool. And I would definitely notice, the numbers starting to rise, both in podcast listenership and, of course, Instagram count. Because as they're sharing the podcast, they're tagging me. The friends like, oh, who is this guy? Maybe I can go on this podcast. And it kind of just became this, kind of this thing. And that was really exciting. At the same time, that's when the hard work always wins thing we talked about a little bit more in depth yesterday started to kind of come in. So I was kind of like off and running, and I was just finding various like fitness people, using certain hashtags to find these people. And, generally I would follow them, because that's like one of the things, and I do not recommend, please just stop what you're doing right now. Don't go and do this. But at the time I was like, okay, I'll follow this person. It was basically follow a person, comment on like 2 or 3 of their posts, and like their last 10 posts. And so basically when you think about it, you're looking at like a phone lock screen, and you're like, if you're an Instagram user and you see like all these notifications for one person, you're almost guaranteed to click on that. I'm like, well, who is this guy? What's going on here? And then you see like, oh yeah, cool. He's on a fitness journey as well. Yeah, I'll follow him and I'll like a bunch of his stuff. And that's kind of another kind of growth hack that I was using at the time. The follow. Why do I say follow for follow? Like there's no guarantee they're going to follow me, but like I am following them and interacting with their stuff, thinking that they are going to then follow me. And most of the time it's like it didn't, I was growing with it, definitely. But it wasn't like to any kind of like huge, 5-level, 6-level scale where I'm at like 100,000. It was nothing like that. But by the time February of 2018 rolled around, I had hit 100 pounds lost. And the problem at that point is, in my mind, because I'm going off of not just my own personal thinking and goals, but also of what literally all these influencers are saying on Instagram. It's like, yeah, they put so much stock in the scale. And I was trying to be the guy that was rallying against that. I'm like, screw a scale. It's one part of the story, but it's damn sure not the whole part of the story. It's not in your control, yada, yada, yada. All these things you've probably heard me say before in a couple of the last videos where I've kind of mentioned that a little bit. But it was like I reached 100 pounds down. I felt like mission complete, fly the flag, bring out the parade. We did it. We did it. It's done. And over the course of the next 2.5 years, I'm just slowly but surely getting back into old habits. Now, at the time, I was still going to the gym. It's not like I ever stopped. But, a lot of the food I was eating was never the best. And actually, to be fair, in the first 100 pounds, I just kind of like changed what I ate. So I'm essentially eating a lot of similar stuff, but it's like, it's not the eating out portion, bigger portions. It's like eating it at home. Like a red meat burger is now a turkey burger. I'm still having my mashed potatoes. I'm still putting the bun with the cheese and the sauce on the burger, just how I want. It's just a different kind of burger. So I was finding things that were working. And I would imagine that had I just kept on going with that mentality, I could have gone further, or I probably would have at some point seen some sort of just a stop as it pertains to, the weight going down. So then at that point, I probably would have had to shift and whatnot. But it goes back to the thing of why I don't think you should document a fitness journey on Instagram, especially if you're just counting on, blowing your account up. I mean, there's a lot of people that do it, and if they want to do it, that's completely up to them. Again, I'm just sharing my own personal experience. But it's like, once I hit the goal, once I realize that I feel like in my mind, wrongfully so, but I'm done, it's just like you want to go back to posting like other stuff on Instagram. Like, At that time, I was doing a lot more video stuff. I was doing a number of things. And of course, they're just not connecting like they would. You know, I'd go to concerts, I'd have concert photos, and these things are just not connecting like other things are connecting because, well, that's not what people want to see. And this is kind of a problem of all social media. I would even argue YouTube. It's like when you do one thing and it hits so well, a lot of people come in and then you start doing like daily vlogs like this, and then all my e-bike people go, well, what the fuck? What is this? I didn't sign up for this. And so they just click out. And which is, I understand the algorithms, they want to serve content of what you're into to you. That's how they're designed to work. And I think that for the most part, they do that right. But I also feel like they fall a little bit short when you try to go and do something different and they're not helping you to find people that are into that other thing that you're doing different. So then you just throw out posts that get like 3 or 4 likes. And it really, it messes with your head. I mean, that was ultimately what was my downfall on that platform for the longest time was, I kind of was slowly backing out. I'm like Homer Simpson going into the bushes, like, all right, I'm still working out, but I don't really want to post about this all day. You're backing up. I'm really into concert photography. I'm into photos, and it get like 3 or 4 likes, and it's just so, because we put so much stock into numbers, vanity metrics, it pisses me off like you would not believe. Like, I get it. You got to have eyeballs. If you get eyeballs, then you can get brand deals. If you get brand deals, then you can make money from your art, whatever it is that you want to create. But it just sets up this gaming system of people just trying to either game the system with fake bots, which are pretty easy to, kind of like point out, but then also like trying to game the system in terms of like doing crazy ass things to get noticed, and then they're just burning themselves out way faster than the average person. And it sucks, and I hate how this game is rigged, but this is kind of, the cost of doing business if you want to create online. And so long story short, my Instagram kind of went, dormant for a long time. I think I archived every single fitness post ever because I also didn't want. The other thing you get is a lot of these salespeople in your DMs, like trying to sell you pills and shakes and wraps and all this other stuff that just doesn't work. The marketing is to make it seem like if you throw this stupid band on your chest and you take these shakes and these pills, you're going to lose 100 pounds in a month. It's like, it's such bullshit. And I had no chill whatsoever in screenshotting these people, sharing it to my story and saying, stay away from these people right here. And because I felt like they were preying on the insecurities of the fitness people who have good intentions. They just realized, hey, I don't like the way my body feels or looks, and I want to make a change, and all that is good stuff. But when you have all these companies that get really creative with how they market to you, and they start trying to say like, hey, if you just do X, Y, and Z, like, you're going to see fast results. And then like, around like the holidays, they'd have these like subtle little passive aggressive posts. It's like, no. Don't be eating a lot of stuff at Thanksgiving. And me, as somebody who was, I guess, for a small period of time, I hate the word influencer, but kind of considered a fitness influencer. I'm in my podcast, I'm in my stories on video telling you, no, eat what you want. How about that? And then, the next day or the day after that, then you get back into your regular routine. But if you want that, go eat it. Like if your body can handle it, do what you want. It's the holidays, you're with your family, do whatever you want. And that was basically the premise of that. So I just basically got burned out so fast, and by the time I came back to trying to post stuff on my Instagram, which is kind of what it is now, it's like mostly photo stuff, pretty much. I still haven't figured out how I want to do video. I need to do some more testing with that. But one thing I had to realize also was that because I had all these fitness followers, one thing from like the growth and strategy side of it is that if you have ghost followers, and what a ghost follower is somebody that is no longer active on the platform, right? And so Instagram says, well, you're followed by I think the highest I ever got was like 7,000. You're followed by 7,000 people, but so many of those are ghost accounts and or people that are not interested in whatever you're doing now. So if we show it to their feeds, like let's say we show it to the active people and they don't like it or comment on it, and then we show it to the ghost followers who never see it, basically your post is like a dead post and it's not going to get any reach and no one's going to give a shit and you're not going to grow. So over the last year, I have slowly removed like 4,000 of these ghost followers. 4,000. And while my Instagram is not necessarily blown up again for like the new audience, and part of that is on me too, because I need to like figure out how to use like reels and stuff in a photographic context. But, you know, it's not blown up, but like my story views as somebody who had 7,000 and like maybe 50 people saw it has now, you know, as I'm down to like 3,000 some odd followers, over 200 to 300 people are now seeing it again. So we're finally getting back to that point, and I'll have to adjust and you know, take out more followers, you know, also. But that's the whole thing. It's like, you know, numbers are cool. They look good on a sheet of paper, but if these people aren't clicking on your stuff, then your post can't get the right engagement. And this is a problem I dealt with when there's a couple brand deals that came around. They're like, oh, you know, you have really good following count numbers and all this. You know, can you send us your analytics? Yeah, no problem. You send them the analytics and they're like, well, but there's no engagement on these posts. Like, did you buy these followers? I'm like, no, actually, I did not. I did that with Twitter back like 10 years ago. That could be a different story one time. But I never did it with Instagram because I wanted to legitimately build it up from the ground up. So my time on Instagram, I did make some friends in that space that I'm, you know, truly grateful for. You meet, you know, the kind of the fake people, the people that like they want to get just enough information about what you're doing. You get copycatters, people that, you know, like, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they're doing podcasts, interviewing people from Instagram, and they even market it as such. And, you know, these are people who were friends, and you'd listen, and they don't even give you the credit. And it's like, it's so obvious. Like, you were just on my podcast like a month or two ago, and now you're doing a podcast. It's like, wow, what a shock. But I've met some really cool people on there that I'm still friends with to this day. And, you know, I'm just very thankful for that. All in all, just, you know, don't use Instagram as a fitness story mechanism. I'm not a big fan of it, and I did not have a good experience with it. Maybe you'll have a different, maybe you'll go and do it in a year. You'll come back and comment on this video and say, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. My stuff blew up. Everything's great. I'm happy, and I wish you the best. But look, if you made it this far, thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate it. And of course, hit the like, comment, subscribe, all those bells, buttons, hit the bell, hit all, not personalized, because personalized never alerts you when a new video is out. So do all those things. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next video.